when, at least in the U.S., is an autopsy SOP, standard operating procedure?
Anytime there's something that's concerning, you always have an autopsy. So if there's a concern for a suicide, an accident, or a homicide, that individual will be autopsied by a medical examiner or a forensic pathologist. In cases of natural deaths where it's unwitnessed or unsupervised, or they don't have a medical history, died outside of a hospital, or died within 24 hours of reaching the hospital, those will also be autopsied. And then, of course, any child under the age of 6 gets autopsied automatically.
So in this case, Dr. Kendall Crowns, at least in the U.S., wouldn't there have been, no question, an autopsy?
Correct. There's no question there'd be an autopsy on this with the history of with Epstein, with the recent history of a possible car accident, and then the history of domestic violence. There's all kinds of factors in play here that could be something that's going on that makes it not a suicide and could be a homicide.
We are talking about the suicide of Virginia Giuffre. And this is one of my many, many questions. Where's the death certificate? What is the COD? Has there been a funeral? Where is her body? Don't tell me she's already been cremated, for Pete's sake, destroying any forensic evidence. Who investigated this? The crack detectives in near Gabby, Australia, where there are 268 people, population, last census? Who found her? How did they find her? Did she hang herself? Did she take pills? What pills? Were photos taken? Were measurements taken? And again, what are the odds? What's the likelihood? And of course, that can never be argued to a jury, statistics. But you roll the dice. What are the statistics that 4 witnesses connected to a sex ring, a proven sex ring of the very rich and powerful, just as the feds claim they're going to release all the documents, including a list of massage therapists, Epstein paid for her, Virginia Giuffre, to have massage lessons. Is she on the list? Was she about to be called as a witness? How did she get tangled up with a perv, a billionaire, but a perv nonetheless, like Epstein? This is how.
Sometimes he would just in front of them and rub his. Sometimes he would have with them. Sometimes he'd make them, give them. It kind of worked like a pyramid scheme. Ghislaine brought me in. I brought other girls in. Those girls brought other girls in. Ghislaine tells me that I have to do for Andrew what I do for Jeffrey. And that made me sick. I just didn't expect it from royalty.
That is Virginia Giuffre speaking about how she was lured by Ghislaine Maxwell as a little girl, told she could make $200 an hour if she learned to be a masseuse, a massage therapist. Well, what that actually entailed was something very, very different and illegal. When children are molested, they are never the same. They may look the same to me and you, but on the inside, they never recover. They may learn to go about their business, hold down a job, try to have a marriage or a family. They're never the same. Now, what you were hearing is from our friends at the Miami Herald and BBC Panorama. That's Virginia Giuffre, who vowed to never give up the fight, but she committed suicide. Just on the eve of the federal release of those documents, I want to go to a very special guest. You may not know her name now, but you will. She, like Virginia, was lured in by Epstein. She actually went to Epstein Island. You know what? I will let her tell her story. Lisa Phillips is joining me now. She is the star and the host of a podcast from now on. And it's a real honor to speak with you Miss Phillips, how did you meet, if that's the right word, Jeffrey Epstein?
So I was on a photo shoot in early 2000 at the island of Tortola in the British West Indies, very close to his island. And we had a free day, and another young blonde Polish model who looks like Virginia said, I have a friend who owns an island. He's been so wonderful to me. He got me my visa to live in the United States. And so she just said, let's go for the day. And so I just said, okay, sure, I'll go with you. And so I went over to the island, and I saw two young blonde girls swimming in the pool with an older gentleman, dark-haired gentleman. And then later on, we all had dinner together. We hung out for the day. And later on that evening, a young blonde girl knocked on my door and told myself and the other blonde girl that Jeffrey needed a massage. Actually, she said, Jeffrey is ready for his massage. And so I just was like, what are you talking about? What massage? And so the other girl said, oh, well, Jeffrey likes, massages. You have to do it. So, I was trapped on the island. I didn't know where to go. I just, followed the girl into his room to do the massage with this other young girl. And I ended up being abused on that island.
Lisa, when you say you were abused, what happened?
Well, like Virginia was explaining, the massages. So the massages turn into, touching and into assault.
Were you sex molested, Lisa, by Jeffrey Epstein?
Yes, I was.
Lynn Shaw joining me. Does it ever end, Lynn? Does it ever end? Lynn is the founder, director of Lynn's Warriors, committed to ending human trafficking and exploitation of girls. Host of Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. Does it ever end? When I hear Lisa and I look at her, she's so beautiful, so articulate, so poised. I mean, Lisa, has your life ever been the same? I mean, mine hasn't been the same since I was a victim of violent crime. It's never been the same. What did that do to you?
You can see I still get emotional, but I kept it silent for 15 years. It wasn't until Jeffrey died in 2019 and I saw Virginia speak out. I thought, wow, this is a courageous woman. Wow, she has like this bravery to speak out about, what happened to her with Jeffrey. But it was her story about Prince Andrew was the reason why I spoke out. Because I had a young friend, also blonde, similar to Virginia's look, who was told by Jeffrey to go into a room to have sex with the prince. And that memory I always remembered, because when I met Jeffrey for the very first time on the island, I remembered seeing that man there. So my story connected in that way.
Andrew?
Yes. Yes, Jeffrey introduced me to
It's
Prince
so
Andrew.
disgusting. And he's like a tick sucking the public's money, living in a mansion. And I'm telling you, this girl's battle, now woman, Virginia Giuffre's battle with Epstein and Prince Andrew, she vowed not to give up ever. And I'm supposed to believe that she said, oh yeah, you know what? I won the battle against Andrew. Epstein's dead, so now I'll kill myself. I find that really hard to believe. Lynn Shaw, will it ever end? When I see Andrew trotting around Balmoral or Windsor Castle on a $80,000 horse, my stomach clenches. He should be in jail. Did you hear what Lisa just said? Same thing that Virginia said.
Listen, we at the Warriors have spoken with, have interviewed many victims of Jeffrey Epstein. I want us all to first applaud Lisa for appearing and bravely speaking out. This takes a lot of strength to keep talking about what happened, so we must all commend her. Second of all, Virginia Giuffre, I will never believe, killed herself. She bravely came out as a warrior, and when she did that several years ago, All of the other victims came forward and said, finally, we have some support, resolution, media attention. We're going to get somewhere. 3 facts. Right away, law enforcement said, no foul play, nothing to see here. That was number 1. Number 2, Virginia was in the process of renovating her house. Number 3, she was standing for all the other victims. She would not do anything to harm herself. She wanted to be that warrior for them. And I have to add a 4th point. I don't believe she would leave her children. Something happened here. We're not getting the facts. And will it ever end, Nancy? I'm afraid to say, and I don't like saying this. No, this Epstein story is never going to end. We're never going to hear the truth and the facts about all of this. Too many complicit, powerful people involved.
And another thing, you heard Lynn Shaw say she was in the middle of a renovation. She was fighting to see her children. She would never leave them. But what about this note? What she said, she was getting ready to do battle. Listen.
Virginia Giuffre's sister-in-law, Amanda Roberts, wants to release a quote written by Virginia, found in a journal at her Australian farmhouse. In her own hand, Virginia wrote, "Mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers need to show the battle lines are drawn, and we stand together to fight for the future of victims. Is protesting the answer? I don't know, but we've got to start somewhere." Giuffre's brother, Sky Roberts, believes the note was intended for organizers of the Washington, D.C. Rally of Sexual Assault Survivors. In a section of the note, she writes, "We are not going to go away."
When, if ever, was the last time you checked your home's title? Well, if you're like me, the answer is never. So stop what you're doing and make sure your title is still in your name immediately. Go to HomeTitleLock.com, use promo code Nancy.